Hi guys. Welcome everyone. I'm gonna give everyone another minute or two to join us, and then we're gonna start. In the meantime, just make sure you have your pre-sketched canvas because we're gonna start with a pre-sketch. Hopefully all were able to print out the outline and sketch it onto your canvas. Hi. Let me add an outline here in chat as well, just in case anyone needs it. So that's a link to the outline for anyone who may need it. Just in case you don't have it pre-sketched yet, you can print it out and you can pre-sketch. And just to explain how we usually do it, so we usually print it out and then we'll put it on the back of the canvas like this, and we would tape it. And then we'll put it over the window so the light shines through, and then we'll take a pencil and we'll outline. So basically window, print out of pre-sketch, and then with pencil outline it on this side. You can also use a transfer paper, and a lot of people prefer transferring paper, but again, it depends on your what do you have at home. Usually not everyone has at home transferring paper, but if you do and you find it easier, go for it. All right, so 2 more minutes and then we're gonna start. Oh wow, freehand, that works too. Yeah, whatever works. It's much harder freehand, but yeah, if that worked for you, that's great. And happy Valentine's Day, everyone. All right, guys, I think that's a good time to start. So welcome. If we haven't met before, my name is Vera. I'll be your instructor for today. And this is what we're painting. So again, hopefully you all came with a pre-sketched outline. The outline that we provided for the sketch is good for either 8x10 canvas or 9x12 canvas. It will work for either. Just in this case, you see there's a bit more background. In this case, there's just a little bit less background. That's the only difference, really. Yes, thank you. You too. And again, I just posted the outline, link to the outline in chat here. And I will also later add it on the description of this event to include the link to the outline into the description of event as well, just in case some of you may be watching this later, so you'll be able to find the outline as well. And if this is your first time joining YouTube Live and you're not sure how it works, the video is being recorded as we go. So if something comes up, you can always come back and finish painting later. No big deal at all. And also, even as we are live, you can rewind it and watch certain sections again and again. Unfortunately, you can't pause it, I believe, just yet. But once the video is being finished recorded, once the recording is done and we're done with the event, you're going to be able to pause it as well. All right. So what are we going to start with here? Is we're going to start with very light areas. We're going to start with faces and the areas here and chunks here. So those areas are going to be completely white. So I'm going to be using a couple of different brushes today. I have this 3 different brushes, but really I may not even need all 3. I may be just using 2 of them. I'll be using this 2 for sure. This is a small brush. This is a small pointy brush number 0. You want to have that because we do have lots of fine details here. So you want to have a nice pointy detailed brush for that. This is medium small for all the other chunks, whatever you think you can do with this. And this is just slightly bigger one for a bigger area. So, but use whatever appropriate, as long as you have this one, that's important. What else you use, it doesn't matter. Whatever seems more comfortable, that's what you should use. All right, so I'm going to start with my medium small one. Let's start with this one. I'll dip it in the water. And oh, by the way, I'm using primary colors only from my paint, which is yellow, red, blue, white, and black. But if you have pre-mixed green, you're welcome to use it. If you have pre-mixed brown, you're welcome to use it. I'm going to be mixing everything. So I'm going to show you how to mix it from just primers. But again, if you want to use different colors or pre-mixed colors, you're welcome to do that. So now I'm going to take some white on this brush, and I'm going to start by coloring in this little section here. And don't avoid your outline. If you go a little bit over your outline, that's okay. I'll color in this section here. And I'm going to color in his face. Now, if your lines are really nice and visible and hard, you can go right over them. So for example, if your lines are like this, do you see, very harsh and very visible? You can totally go right over them. If your lines are really light, probably avoid them because otherwise you're going to lose them. So it's up to you. It depends how much you're afraid to lose your lines. If you're afraid to lose your lines, avoid them. If not, go right over them. I'm going to be going right over them because I find that I can still see them somewhat through, right? And I'm just not going to use too much white, so I'm not going to pile it on too heavy so I can see my lines. I'm going to pile it on just enough so I can still see my lines through it. And use some water on your brush as well. That will help with that. And then right away for this guy, so here we're just going to do white, right? We're not going to add anything else. For him though, we're going to switch to light gray, and we're going to start contouring him and adding certain areas in the light gray. So I'm going to scoop some of my white on the side for this, and I'm going to add just a tiny touch of black. Make sure you make nice and light gray. You don't want to have dark gray or even medium gray, only light gray. And with this light gray, I'm going to flick a couple of brush strokes here from the top while it's still wet. You don't want to wait until it dries. Then a couple of brush strokes here. And a little bit following this outline. Do you see? His face got a little darker around here. But blended. It's not crazy, it's not harsh, it's not very dark gray. It's just a little darker. It's like a little shadow. And then with the same color, I'll also add a bit around the eye and on this nose part. Maybe underneath the nose too. You see, it starts shaping him. And yes, it looks a little weird, and that's okay. It's part of the process. The most important thing is that you keep him light. Don't make your grays dark, because right now it may look like a weird shadow, but later, once we add the contrast colors, once we add all the blacks, you're not going to see that gray as much. So I'll give you guys a second for that. All right, and another thing I want to do too is I'm going to actually grab slightly bigger brush for this. And I'm going to make just a touch of darker gray. So to the same gray I just used, I'll add a smidge more black. And with this dry brushing, so do you see I'm only using a touch of paint on my brush, very lightly, almost like a shadow. I'm going to flick from here down just a little bit. And from here down too, just a little bit. And a little on the edge. And that's it for now. And by the way, guys, forgot to warn you. This painting is not going to look good until we are moving to black paint. So before we move to black, it's just going to be more like a color blocking with other colors plus doing shades of gray. So it's going to look really weird and not attractive or appealing until we move to black. So when we move to black, that's when it's going to start really coming together. Until then, just bear with me and trust that it will get there. Oh, okay. So now I'm going to move on to Our Lady. And I'm gonna use medium small brush. And again, I'm gonna start by just coloring in the sections that's supposed to be white with white paint, so we know we don't have any uncovered canvas in the end. It's not super necessary, but why not, right? On her face. And all this section as well. And then again, on this section, I'm gonna grab light gray. So again, I'll make it again. I'll take a smidge of black, some white, mix it up, and with this light gray, I'm gonna add a couple of brush strokes underneath the chin here to darken that up a touch. And maybe a smidge here, just to make it more interesting. And after that, we're going to move on to the other colorful parts, such as hair, clothes, then eyes, lips, and so on. All right, now let's go on to his hair. So we're gonna make this green color and we're gonna color in the hair and the jacket flat. And again, if you're afraid to lose your lines, maybe go with pencil first and just outline them so they're more visible, harsher. In my case, I'm not afraid to lose them. I can always add those lines later on with black. It's not a big deal at all. Yeah, we can easily freehand them, but if it is a problem for you, then you can just make them a little harsher first. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix some yellow. I'm gonna use the same medium small brush. I'm gonna scoop some yellow on the side. Then to this yellow, I'm gonna add some blue. I'll make my green. Any shade of green will do. In my case, it's just about medium green. And then I'm just going to color them in flat because the black is going to be added much later on. And you don't have to be careful about all those fine lines here because all of that is going to be done with black as well. You just need a green base. That's all we're looking for here. And then I'm going to move on to his jacket and I'm going to color in his jacket. And a tie as well. Again, you don't have to be super careful if you get on the line or over them. Not a big deal because we're going to clean it all up with black. This is just an underlay. Yeah, so that's going to be in green. And then this is going to be in blue. So I'm just going to use my primary blue. Straight from the bottle, not mixing with anything. If you want any different shade, you're welcome to mix the shade that makes you happy and use that. So he's almost done. We only have a brown inside the eye left for him as an underlay before we move to black, and some red around the lips. And again, once we have those, it's going to look even worse, guys. So I apologize. Again, as I warned you earlier, it's going to look pretty bad until we move to black. So just bear with me. It's part of the process. All right, I'm gonna move on to his eye and his lips just to get him done, and then I'll move on to hair. So for the eye, I'm gonna make brown, and you don't need much. So I'm gonna be using my small brush, and I'm gonna start by mixing a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow, equal parts. So equal parts of red and yellow. And then to this mixture, I'm gonna start adding black little by little until I arrive at the color I'm looking for. In my case, that's about now. This is pretty much the color I'm looking for. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that and I'm gonna color in this fully. Maybe I'll add a bit more white around it. Because I think as my pencil was rubbing, it got a little too gray there. And then for the lips, I'm gonna use, so my red, you could use red straight from the tube. In my case, my red has a bit of magenta undertone, so it's like a dark pink. Do you see? So for me to be able to make it super red like that, I'm gonna need to take a little bit of yellow and mix it into my red. Not a lot, not equal parts, but just a little to give it that orangier hint versus pinker hint. And with this A, I'm gonna color in his lips. That's one. And number two, I'm actually gonna grab medium small brush, or you can continue with small brush, and dry brush using just a tiny touch of paint, a bit of red, so it looks like blood or like a smeared, just smudged lipstick to make it messy intentionally. And while we're still on red, we can add red to her lips. I'm gonna use small brush for this too, because it has to be more of a fine lines and more of a detailed work. So do you see? Just coloring her lips in. And then this section I'm gonna color in as well with my medium small brush. And again, don't be afraid to add a bit of that onto the background because it's gonna be all black, and black covers red, no problem. So I'm not even being careful around here. And then the last two places that we need to go to color block is her eye and her hair. So her eye is going to be blue, but not as dark. In my case, I made it a little lighter than his jacket. So I'm just going to take my small brush, a little bit of blue, a little bit of white, mix them up. Make any shade of blue that makes you happy. For me, I would say it's about medium blue, medium light blue. And color in the eye. And then I'm going to move on to hair. And hair, so again, you can make any color that you want. You can make the hair just yellow. So if you take just straight yellow, this is what it's going to look like. For me, that was a little too harsh, so I mixed my color. But yeah, you could, if you don't want to bother with it, you can just either use straight yellow or yellow mixed with white. And this is what that's going to look like. Let me show you a smidge. Do you see? Lighter blonde. In my case, I'm going to mix it. So I'm going to start by mixing yellow and white. And then I'm going to add just a tiny smidge of red to make it a little bit warmer, so it's a little less yellow and a little more golden in a way. So I just prefer that color. Again, it's not necessary, but I like it. So I would prefer that color for my hair. It still is blonde, but it's a little more golden blonde versus, just yellow. And I'm going to color in her hair fully. So again, just as a base underlay. Ray, to answer your questions, is it possible to make faces match in size? So basically, are you referring to his face being bigger than hers? Yes, you can make them match in size, but if you do, you're going to be losing a lot of her clothes. So you're going to be losing a lot of this red. You're going to be losing a lot of the hair. So we're keeping her face a little smaller for a reason, because we want to see a bit more of her hair and a bit more of her clothes than we would see otherwise. But yeah, absolutely, you can make them match, no problem. You will need to sketch from scratch though, because our outline comes only in this version. But if you want to sketch from scratch, absolutely, go for it. And that's it from all our color blocking sections. So I'm going to give you guys another minute to finish your color blocking, and then we're going to move on to fine details with the black. And that's where it's going to start making sense, because right now it makes no sense, and that's okay. So another minute to finish color blocking, and then we'll move to a small brush and a black paint. All right, guys. So now I'm gonna move on to my black, and I'm gonna start adding fine details, which is always fun. So I'm gonna start with his face. Why not, right? I'm gonna use my small brush. I'm gonna water down my black paint a little bit because I find that A, dries really fast, so I want it a little more liquid, and B, just generally is easier to work with more liquid paint. And what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start by outlining his eye. Oops, I accidentally got some red here. It's okay, we'll cover it up. Not a big deal. So do you see, just starting by outlining his eye, then I'm going to move on to details of his eye. And I'm going to get closer here for you guys to see it. So I'm going to start by adding a little outline to the brown as well. Very fine line. So just use the tip of your brush. And then I'm going to add a circle in the middle in black. And then I'm going to add a little bit more black around here. And then I'm going to start flicking. I'm going to refill my brush with paint. And I'm going to start flicking from the inside out to create those lines. Do you see the spider legs looking lines that go in different directions? Here they're going to go towards the nose, and here they're going to go towards the outside, and here they're going to go down and towards the outside as well. So we're just going to flick all of them from the inside out based on the direction that we want them to go in. Do you see all the flicks from the inside out? And that's the iron black. That's a start, right? So after that, I'm going to add those wrinkles, just very, very lightly, using the tip of my brush. Then I will add base outline onto the other areas, such as nose. And darken up underneath it a little bit. And then the lips. And this smile part. And of course, the outline of the face. All right, so I'm gonna give you a second for this too, and then I want to go back to my medium small brush, and I want to add a couple more like a dry brushy brush strokes to add a bit more messiness and darkness here. But for that, this should be a bit drier. All right, so I think I can move to my next step, and I'm gonna grab, and you can use either medium small or small, something like that. And then I'm gonna grab straight black, but just a little bit of it, because I'm gonna be dry brushing it on. So just a touch of black, and I'm gonna dry brush it on. Actually, I'm gonna switch to a slightly smaller brush. This one seems a little too big. So I'm gonna grab this one, and I'm gonna dry brush some black here. You see how nice and light and dry brushing it on? So you use next to no paint on your brush, just a touch. From here, a little from here. from the eye, from this corner of the eye up. A touch along the smile, and a touch along the nose. See, it looks much darker. And then I'm going to move back to my small brush and my black paint, and I'm going to start working on my hair. So you can start by outlining and just adding major lines. And then those chunks that are left, you can just break them up with a smaller lines. I'm going to show you how. So let's start by just adding the outline. I'm breaking it up into more of with a major lines into chunks. So you see I added outline on the outside and on the inside. And there are just a lot of small brush strokes. And now I'm left with those large chunks of areas that don't have the outlines yet. So now I'm going to break up those large chunks into like segments. So basically I'm going to break them up with those outlines. And use just the very tip of your brush for this. And you see now my hair is all broken up and it has this beautiful hair movement. And then I'm going to move on to the jacket and all those parts. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with just adding the outline. So do you see I added outline? And now I'm going to start adding flicking brush strokes. You see they go in on an angle. So some flicks go from the left into the middle, some flicks go from the right into the middle. And we're going to do that on all of them, except this one is going to be vertical. This one is not going to have any flicks from the left, only from the right. And this one is the other way around. It's not going to have any flicks from the right. It's only going to have flicks from the left. So I'm going to start with this one. So from here in, flick, 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 flick all the way. And again, use watered down black and just the tip of your brush. And then from the other side in. And here as well, the same thing. And then here, I'm going to do vertical. So from the top and from the bottom. And here I'm going to do from the one side only. And of course, we'll finish with color. Color from the face out. And his clothes are done in black, of course. We still have another color. We still have white to go, but in black it's good. So the only thing we're missing in black is, do you see a little bit of detail on the face? So you can use your watered down black or even gray for this, and you can just add like a swirly light line or something to make it a little bit more interesting. And then I'm going to move on to her, and I'm going to start with her hair as well. And I'm going to do the same thing that we've done with his hair. We're going to start with outline and separate into larger chunks, and then we're going to go into those chunks and fill them in with lines. So that's our hair. And now I'm going to start breaking them into smaller chunks. Not even chunks, just adding those hair lines. Some of them are going to be flicked from the top, some of them are going to be flicked from the bottom, and a couple of them are just going to be lines. Not all of them are going to be all the way from top to the bottom. Most of them are actually not going to be that. Most of them are going to be either from the top or from the bottom and not connect in the middle. So here I'm going to flick a few from the top, then I'm going to flick a few from the bottom. Same with this one. Oops. So you see all this movement is being added to the hair. So again, I'll give you guys a minute for this, and then I'm going to do her face. Yeah, no problem. You can finish anytime. Thanks for joining. All right, I'm gonna do her hair now. Sorry, her eye now. So I'm gonna, again, use my small brush, just the tip of my brush. And I'm gonna start by adding this line. Let's get closer here as well. Like a mascara line in a way. And that from that line, I'm gonna flick a couple more flicks for eyelashes. So just a couple more, using just the very tip of your brush. And then for the bottom one, I'm gonna add more of a broken up line. And then I'll add an outline here and color it in. And that's her eye. And as soon as you have the eye, you can do the mask. Mask, you'll just color in fully with black. And then, of course, I'm gonna add a bit of black on our nose, like a little outline, and a little bit on the lips. And then I'll finish up with our clothes. So underneath the chin, I'm gonna add flicks from the left to the right and from the right to the left. And then a bit of a outline here. Plus a couple more random lines following the same shape, inside or outside, in black. And that's pretty much it for the faces and the clothes. And again, I'll give you guys a minute for this. And then we're gonna do outline the frame black, this line inside black, and then we'll finish with highlights. All right, so now I'm gonna grab my small brush and I'm just gonna add this black right in the middle. And then, so the rest, the outline, the outer sides, you can do with whichever brush. I thought I started with small, but then I was thinking, I think I will do better with medium large actually. So I'm gonna do that. So I usually just go around the outline first. And then I'm just gonna fill in the rest. And you can also do your edges with black. That will look really, really good. It's completely up to you. I wouldn't insist on it, but I would probably recommend it because it's just a good look versus having unfinished edges. I find that this changes the look a lot. Just having the edges colored, that's my favorite personal. So I would highly recommend it, but your call. And I'll give you a couple more minutes and then we're gonna move to our last step, which would be highlights in white. All right, guys, time to add our highlights. I'm going to use my small brush and white paint, and I'm going to start by watering down my white just a little bit. And I'm going to start with like more fine details on the face, and then I'll move on to this outer edge. So I'm going to start on the eyes. Let's add a glare. So here I'm going to add one big dot and one small dot. I'm going to get closer again. And then one small dot on the bottom. Plus, I'll add a smidge here, smidge here, here, here. So just a couple smidges, do you see? Like a glare around it. And then on her eye, I'm going to add 3 dots as well. One bigger dot first. Then one smaller dot. And then one very tiny dot. And that's pretty much it for her eye. Then I want to add a bit of glare on their lips. So just a couple little dots. Maybe I'll highlight the face here a little bit. It's not super necessary, but also why not? And then I'm going to move on to their hair. And I'm going to start adding little highlights on a hair. So you see, I'm aiming to add them more in the middles of the green. So I'm not adding them right on the edge, right on the black. I'm mostly just trying to add them on a green. Of course, they're allowed to overlap your black. That's totally fine. I'll add a couple of little brush strokes here too. A little bit on the edge of the collar. And a couple of brush strokes there too. And a smidge here. And that's pretty much it for him. And for her, oh, hi Vicky, thank you. I'm gonna add some, mostly on a hair. There's not a lot on the bottom. There's a little bit on the bottom, but not much. So again, on a hair, you're mostly gonna add it on the lighter parts already. So you're not gonna go into the darkness to add it. The parts that are already lighter, you can add highlight mostly on them. And again, it can overlap your black, that's totally fine. And Last highlight that I want to add on her is just a little bit right here on the red, following the same section here. And again, I'll give you guys a second for that. Yay, Vicky. That's awesome. All right, guys. So let's add final highlights then. I'm just going to take, and this is optional. You don't even have to do this. This could be already done. But if you wanted to add something else, you can take some white and add just a couple highlights on the corners, from the corner into the side, just a flicks, or following the frame line. I mean, again, they're not necessary, but you can. And if you don't like them, you can always just wait until they dry, by the way, and take more black and color them back black. So again, you're not losing anything really by trying them out and see if you like them or not. Because if anything, you can just wait until the black dries and color them, white dries and color them black again. And last thing, we can add the letters here, J and Q. And again, that's optional too. You don't have to, but you could. And that is it, guys. After that, we are officially done. There is nothing else here to do. So if you finished it, or if you will finish it at some point, if you're not done yet, that's okay. And you want to share it with us, please share it. I would love to see how they turned out. I'm going to send you a link of a Facebook group where you're post all of them. Okay, let's see. Here it is. That's a group where you can post your paintings. I would love to see how they turned out. If you'd rather not, that's okay too. That's no problem. You don't have to. But we do love seeing how they turned out. And another place where you can post them, if you found this event through Facebook, you can always go to our Facebook page and just on event page created specifically for this event. And you can post it there too. That's a great place to do it. I'm going to send you a link for that as well, so you don't have to browse around internet trying to locate it, because I know that can be quite a task. So I'm just sending it to you. And that would be in comments. If you can post there in comments, that would be awesome. But again, no pressure, guys. And if you had lots of fun, like lots and lots and lots, and you enjoyed it, and you want to say thank you by tipping me, I would never say no to that. And you can do that through PayPal, but again, it's no pressure at all. Just giving you guys an option. All right, and I posted that link as well. So, does anyone have any questions? If you do, please ask away. If you don't have any questions, that's okay too. There's no pressure to come up with questions that you don't have. Just want to give you guys an opportunity to ask the questions that you may have. And if you do, actually, if you may be watching this video later and you do have questions, you're welcome to always message us on Facebook or email us. We're always happy to help. All right, I don't see any questions. So, okay, thank you for joining me, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful Valentine's Day. Or if you're watching this later, I hope you're having just a great day. Thanks for joining me. Let's do this again sometime soon. Bye, guys.